So let's talk domain and range. And your first slide talks about something's wrong with the shading in the graph. As you played around with the shading, hopefully you found out that, well, it's not really lining up with the graph. That's what could possibly be wrong. It's not really working out. Let me see if I can view this better. So again, I can't change this, but it looks like basically the left side is lining up with the beginning of the graph, but this right side is not lining up. So the shading isn't, perhaps that's what could be wrong. As you continue, it talks about this is the type of shading that we can use to represent chunks of a function, and that chunk is called a domain, right? The domain is what we're trying to measure right here. So to measure the domain, we're really looking at just the x values. That's why we're moving this horizontally. All right, if you drag your orange point, then you'll see basically you've lined up the domain. The domain looks like it starts at 1 and it ends at 4. All right, that's kind of what we're thinking right now for domain. The domain started at 1 and it ended at 4. I don't want to use my y values to talk about domain because it keeps going up and it keeps going down. So again, domain talks about x values. The domain for this function starts at 1, ends at 4. All right. Now it says I fixed the inequality from screen 3. And it says mathematicians use inequalities to describe domain because it's more precise. So we need to have a numerical way of writing this. And it says here's the inequality that represents, it says that one of your classmates filled in. Well, this one is pre-populated for me, but it says 1 is less than or equal to x is less than 4. All right, and that's what we have. You can see if I change the inequality, like if I change it to 5, you can see now it doesn't line up. So I want it to go to 4, right? Same, if I take a look at what would have happened if I would have just used a less than symbol. Now I have a dotted line. I want to use less than or equal to. So that's how I line up. So that is actually the domain of that function. 1 is less than or equal to x is less than 4. Let's continue. My next slide, slide number 4, says, okay, try fixing this inequality. I'm giving -9 is less than x is less than -5. Well, that's way out over here. So I want to line it up. Looks like I'm going to go from -1.5. Let's fix that, -1.5. I need to include -1.5, so I'm going to use a less than or equals to. All right, and it looks like I'm going to stop at 1, at x equals 1, so less than 1. And bingo, there we go. To give away something that you should have learned from this, dots should line up with solid lines, open circles with dotted lines, closed circles with solid lines. Okay, and if we continue, it says, okay, choose which one of these is correct, and they basically all look the same. It's all saying, okay, it goes from -1.5 to 1, but again, you want to pay attention to those inequality symbols. We need to have an equal symbol for -1.5. and not an equal symbol for 1. So your second choice right there. And in these Desmos explorations, you often have to explain your thinking. By the way, as you do this exploration, I'm able to see all of your answers. I get all of the feedback. This is my teacher screen. Okay. So I would be able to see you here on the left side. It would have your name. All right. Here's another one. What's the domain of this function? Well, it looks like it starts, right? Domain, in case you haven't noticed, I go from left to right. Starts at -5. All right, so I'm going to go -5, and I'm going to say less than or equal to. So I just type in the left hand sign, and then I type the equals button, and it types it. And it looks like it's going to go all the way to 10. And that should do it, right? I think that's the domain. And did I do something wrong? Ah, looks good. All right, this one didn't show me the picture until I submitted my response. So there you have it. Okay, there's another example of domain. All right, you're going to do the same thing right there. It gives you a piecewise function. So this has multiple places for domain and range for domain, and we'll talk about range in the next video. But basically, I am going to move these guys around. It looks like I've got 2 solid lines right here, so I'd probably use that one for this guy right here. All right. And I do the same with the others. So that's a breakdown of what domain is. Domain lists the intervals for your x values.